In the dim glow of a single street lamp, on a foggy November night in 1982, Emily Hargrove stepped out of the Milford Public Library, her coat clutched tightly against the biting wind that whispered through the empty streets of this forgotten Pennsylvania town. The air was thick with mist, carrying the faint scent of damp leaves and distant factory smoke, as she hurried toward her parked car in the narrow alley behind the building. Her footsteps echoed softly on the wet pavement, each one marking what would become the last traces of her presence in the world. Then, inexplicably, they stopped, right there in the middle of the alley, as if she had been plucked from existence itself. The car sat abandoned, keys dangling in the ignition, a half-read book on the passenger seat, its pages fluttering like a final, desperate signal. What happened in those final 47 minutes would bury a secret deeper than anyone imagined, haunting the town for decades. How does a woman simply vanish into thin air, leaving no trace but a single, chilling clue? The fog swallowed everything that night, but the questions it left behind would linger like ghosts. Emily's disappearance wasn't just a mystery. It was an immediate wound that tore through the quiet routine of Milford. Witnesses later recalled hearing a muffled cry, perhaps, or was it just the wind howling through the alley? The library's back door, still ajar, creaked in the breeze, a detail that would puzzle investigators for years. Her purse lay discarded nearby, contents untouched, lipstick, wallet, a library card stamped with that very evening's date. The scene painted a picture of sudden interruption, no struggle evident, yet the air felt heavy with unspoken violence. In the hours that followed, as the first searchers arrived, flashlights pierced the fog, revealing nothing but those abrupt footprints ending in a patch of gravel. The town, nestled in the shadow of rusting steel mills, had always felt safe, insulated from the chaos of bigger cities. But this night shattered that illusion. Emily, at 25, was the kind of person who blended into the background, a librarian with a gentle smile, known for recommending mystery novels that now seemed eerily prophetic. The alley's walls, graffitied with faded tags, stood as silent witnesses, holding secrets that time would slowly erode. Yet, as the clock ticked past midnight, the first hints of panic set in, families gathering at the police station, their faces etched with worry. This was no ordinary evening. It was the beginning of a nightmare that would stretch across 2 decades. But the clues would not add up, not yet. Picture Emily Hargrove in the heart of Milford, a town where the Susquehanna River wound lazily past boarded-up factories, its waters reflecting the gray skies of a fading industrial era. She was the quiet anchor of the community, a 25-year-old librarian whose days revolved around stacks of books and the soft rustle of turning pages. Her life a tapestry of simple routines that masked a deeper solitude. Born and raised in this close-knit Rust Belt enclave, Emily had dreamed of escaping to a bigger city, perhaps to pursue writing, but family ties and a sense of duty kept her rooted here, where everyone knew her name and her story. Her home was a modest bungalow on Elm Street, filled with shelves of classic novels and the faint aroma of chamomile tea, a sanctuary from the town's gossip mills that buzzed about her unmarried status and occasional late-night walks. Friends described her as possessing a quiet strength, someone who listened more than she spoke, her eyes always alight with the world she found in literature. But beneath the surface of this idyllic life, shadows were already gathering. The town of Milford itself was a character in Emily's story, a place where winters bit hard and summers lingered with humid regret, its population of 5,000 souls bound by shared histories and unspoken resentments. In the 1980s, as factories closed and jobs vanished, the community clung to traditions like Friday night football games and church suppers, where whispers about local scandals spread like wildfire. Emily volunteered at these events, her laughter rare but genuine, often helping children discover the magic of stories amid the economic gloom. Her family, a widowed mother and younger brother, relied on her steady presence, their dinners filled with talk of books rather than the town's mounting hardships. Yet, there were hints of unrest. Anonymous notes she received at the library, vague threats dismissed as pranks, and a growing unease about strangers passing through. Psychologically, Emily carried the weight of unspoken dreams, her journal entries revealing a woman yearning for more, trapped in a life that felt increasingly like a cage. The sensory details of her world, the creak of library floors, The musty scent of old books, the distant hum of trains, painted a portrait of normalcy on the brink. As the fog of that November evening approached, no one suspected how fragile this ordinary world truly was. Little did they know, the foundations were already cracking. As the clock struck 9 p.m. on that fateful November 12, 1982, Emily locked the library's front door, the metallic click echoing in the empty reading room, unaware that her ordinary shift was about to spiral into oblivion. She gathered her things methodically, the overhead lights casting long shadows across the dewy decimal aisles, while outside, the fog thickened, muffling the sounds of the town winding down. By 9:15 p.m., she stepped into the back office to call her mother, her voice steady as she promised to be home soon, the phone cord twisting like a noose in the dim light. The air inside was warm, scented with aged paper and coffee, a stark contrast to the chill waiting beyond the door. At 9:30 p.m., she exited into the alley, her breath visible in the cold, footsteps crunching on gravel as she approached her blue sedan parked under a flickering street lamp. Was it a random act, or had someone been watching her all along? Then, at approximately 9:47 p.m., the last library light flickered off, and witnesses later reported a shadowy figure near the alley's mouth, though details blurred in the mist. The timeline tightened like a vice from there, piecing together fragments from partial sightings and forensic scraps. Emily's path led her past overflowing dumpsters, the stench of rotting garbage mixing with the fog's damp earthiness, her coat brushing against brick walls etched with years of neglect. A neighbor heard what might have been a scuffle, a muffled thud, a gasp swallowed by the night, around 9:50 p.m., but dismissed it as cats fighting in the bins. Her footprints, preserved in the soft mud, showed purposeful strides that suddenly veered, as if startled, before halting abruptly at 9:55 p.m. Short, sharp moments defined the chaos. The car door left ajar, engine untouched, her scarf, later found snagged on a fence post, fibers clinging like desperate fingers. Psychologically, one can imagine her rising panic, heart pounding in the enveloping darkness, senses heightened to every rustle and distant car horn. The alley, narrow and poorly lit, became a trap, its walls closing in with the weight of impending doom. By 10 p.m., the town slept on, oblivious, while Emily's world unraveled in silence. Investigators would comb this sequence for years, each timestamp a breadcrumb leading nowhere. But in those final minutes, a secret was forged, one that would demand decades to unearth. Dawn broke over Milford like a reluctant confession, revealing the abandoned car in the alley as the first light pierced the lingering fog, and with it came the frantic realization that Emily Hargrove was gone. Police arrived by 6:30 a.m., summoned by her worried mother who hadn't heard the familiar creak of the front door the night before, their boots splashing through puddles as they cordoned off the scene with yellow tape that fluttered like warning flags. The initial response was a whirlwind of activity, officers interviewing library staff, their notebooks filling with hasty sketches of the alley layout, while search dogs sniffed the ground, tails wagging uncertainly amid the confusing sense of urban decay. Chaos reigned in those early hours, with volunteers combing nearby woods, flashlights cutting through the underbrush where fallen leaves crunched underfoot, and helicopters thumping overhead, their rotors stirring the air into a frenzy. A suspicious vehicle, a rusted pickup spotted idling near the library around closing time, emerged as the first lead, its description broadcast over crackling radios, igniting hope that flickered like a dying bulb. Frustration mounted as missteps piled up in the pre-digital era, with evidence mishandled in the rush. Fingerprints smudged on the car door, potential witnesses overlooked in the panic. The family's desperation added to the emotional storm, Emily's mother collapsing in sobs at the station, her hands trembling as she clutched a photo of her daughter, the room heavy with the scent of stale coffee and fear. Detectives quoted in early reports expressed guarded optimism, one saying, "We've got solid leads, this won't drag on," but the words rang hollow against the backdrop of disorganized searches. Community gossip swirled like the fog itself, whispers of drifters or local feuds amplifying the terror, while media vans arrived, their cameras capturing the town's raw grief. Psychologically, the investigators felt the pressure building, obsessions forming in the quiet moments between radio calls. As the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows over untouched clues, the leads began to evaporate like mist, leaving only a void of questions. But as dawn broke, the leads evaporated like mist, leaving only questions. Vigils sprang up like fragile flames in the darkening days after Emily's disappearance. The town square of Milford illuminated by candlelight as neighbors huddled together, their breaths visible in the cold air, murmuring prayers that echoed off the stone facade of the old courthouse. The community, once bound by shared routines, now fractured under the weight of suspicion, with gossip spreading through diners and barbershops, voices low and accusatory. "I saw her arguing with that handyman last week. Something wasn't right." Emotions ran raw, a mix of collective sadness and simmering fear, as parents clutched their children closer on foggy evenings, the river's gentle lapping now sounding like ominous warnings. Media frenzy descended, reporters thrusting microphones into tear-streaked faces, capturing the town's unraveling trust, while posters of Emily's smiling face plastered every lamppost, fading slowly under relentless rain. In a town where everyone knows everyone, how could evil hide in plain sight? From Emily's mother's perspective, the turmoil was a personal hell, her days blurred by endless waiting, the house echoing with absence, every creak of the floorboards a cruel tease of return. Community reactions varied, some organized search parties, trudging through muddy fields with thermoses of coffee, their boots caked in earth. Others whispered about curses on the town, fueling a paranoia that turned neighbors into suspects. Dramatic recreations in local news showed town hall meetings packed to capacity, voices rising in anger over police inaction, the air thick with cigarette smoke and desperation. Psychological depth revealed the gossip's toll, friendships strained, alibis questioned, the once cozy fabric of Milford tearing at the seams. Heightened emotions peaked during a memorial service, where sobs mingled with the tolling church bells, a tragic chorus underscoring the loss. Yet, amid the chaos, a quiet resolve emerged, families vowing not to forget, even as whispers hinted at darker secrets buried in basements and backyards. The town's wound festered, unhealed, setting the stage for years of shadowed existence. Years turned into a relentless grind for Detective Harlan Reed, who stared at Emily's file in the dim light of his cluttered office, the walls papered with timelines and faded photos, each one a reminder of the obsession that had consumed him since that foggy night in 1982. Reed, a grizzled veteran with calloused hands and haunted eyes, reviewed case notes late into the evenings, the scent of cold coffee and yellowed paper filling the air as he traced leads that looped back on themselves like endless mazes. His pursuit was more than duty. It was a personal vendetta, nights spent poring over witness statements, his mind replaying the alley scene in vivid, tormenting detail, the abrupt footprints, the abandoned car, the fog that hid everything. Frustration built like a storm, short outbursts in empty interrogation rooms contrasting long, brooding silences where he questioned his own sanity. 20 years in, Reed's obsession would unearth a clue buried deeper than the grave itself. Psychologically, Reed's arc was one of quiet unraveling, his marriage strained by missed dinners and distant stares, the case seeping into dreams where Emily's voice called from the mist. Journal excerpts revealed his inner turmoil. "Another dead end today. How many more before it breaks me?" Colleagues noted his fixation, the way he revisited the library alley annually, standing in the exact spot where her trail ended, wind whipping at his coat as if mocking his efforts. Sensory details amplified the drama. The creak of file cabinets, the flicker of fluorescent lights, the distant ring of unanswered phones. As decades passed, new detectives joined, but Reed's shadow loomed, his obsession a torch passed reluctantly, fueling investigations that dug into community undercurrents and forgotten alibis. The emotional toll manifested in small ways, a tremor in his hand during briefings, eyes glazing over maps dotted with red pins. Yet, this unyielding drive kept the case alive, a flickering hope amid stagnation. The breakthrough waited, patient and buried, but Reed's fire burned on, illuminating paths yet unseen. Decades stretched like endless winters in Milford, where false leads piled up like forgotten snowdrifts, each one promising resolution only to melt away under scrutiny, leaving investigators adrift in a sea of dead ends. Early interrogations of transient workers yielded alibis that crumbled then reformed. One man's story of a late-night drive near the library debunked by tire tracks that matched nothing. His nervous sweat in the interview room, a fleeting spark of hope, quickly extinguished. Sightings poured in from across state lines. Emily spotted at a diner in Ohio, her description matching a dozen runaways. But forensic checks on fingerprints and hair samples returned negative, the lab's sterile hum underscoring the futility. Botched polygraphs added to the frustration, machines beeping erratically as suspects lied smoothly, their eyes avoiding the glare of bare bulbs. One lead pointed to a basement renovation, but it slipped away, until it didn't. The emotional drain was palpable, families attending annual vigils where candles guttered in the wind, their flames mirroring fading resolve, while detectives like Reed aged visibly, gray hairs multiplying with each unresolved anniversary. Psychological insights revealed the toll. Insomnia plaguing officers, dreams haunted by Emily's imagined pleas, short tempers flaring in strategy meetings scented with stale donuts and despair. Dead ends accumulated. A discarded glove tested for DNA in the 90s, yielding no matches. Community tips about buried secrets dismissed as folklore. Varied sentence lengths captured the pacing. Long reflections on years lost, broken by sharp realizations of time's cruelty. As the case slid into obscurity, media interest waned, headlines shrinking to footnotes, the town's gossip turning inward, blaming police for incompetence. Yet, amid the stagnation, subtle clues lingered, like fibers from Emily's scarf unmatched until technology evolved. The despair deepened, a heavy blanket over Milford, but beneath it, the truth simmered, waiting for the right spark to ignite. Anniversaries came and went like solemn rituals in the Hargrove household. Emily's mother lighting a single candle each November 12th, its flame dancing shadows across walls adorned with yellowed photos. The room heavy with the scent of wilted flowers and unspoken grief. The cold case stagnation settled over Milford like a perpetual fog, years blending into a monotonous ache where hope eroded slowly. Family pleas to the media growing fainter, their voices cracking with exhaustion during televised appeals. Emily's brother, now a man burdened by loss, wandered the old alley on sleepless nights, the gravel crunching underfoot as memories assaulted him, psychological scars manifesting in withdrawn silences and averted eyes at family gatherings that felt increasingly empty. The emotional toll was a quiet devastation, sadness deepening into resignation, short bursts of anger at indifferent authorities contrasting long periods of numb acceptance. How do you move on when the truth is buried just out of reach? Community forgetting crept in subtly, posters peeling from telephone poles, the town's focus shifting to new scandals. Yet for the family, stagnation was a living wound, anniversaries marked by private tears and the rustle of old case files pulled from dusty boxes. Sensory details amplified the haunting atmosphere. The creak of an empty rocking chair in Emily's childhood room, the distant wail of trains echoing lost opportunities. Family quotes captured the rawness. "We've waited so long. It's like she's fading twice," her mother whispered in interviews, her hands trembling with the weight of decades. Reflection on the toll revealed fractured relationships, holidays overshadowed by absence, the house's silence a constant reminder of unresolved pain. As the 2000s dawned, technology promised revival, but for now, the shadow lengthened, Milford's wound unhealed, families clinging to fragments of memory amid the inexorable march of time. The stagnation pressed on, heavy and unyielding, until a single clue threatened to shatter the silence. In the sterile glow of a forensic lab in 2002, a long-forgotten fiber sample from Emily's scarf hummed under the microscope, its DNA sequence finally matching a hit in the newly expanded national database, igniting a spark that pierced 2 decades of darkness. This breakthrough, time-stamped at 2:15 p.m. on a crisp autumn day, came courtesy of advancing technology and a fresh detective, Sarah Klein, no relation to suspects, whose review of cold files unearthed overlooked connections, her fingers tracing faded ink on reports as the pieces began to align. Excitement built in the precinct, officers gathering around computer screens flickering with genetic profiles, the air buzzing with renewed energy that contrasted the years of defeat. Suspenseful hope surged, short confirmations like, "It's a match," punctuating long explanations of PCR amplification and allelic patterns. The secret in the basement was about to surface, shattering 2 decades of silence. Psychologically, the renewal reinvigorated the team, Reed's weary eyes lighting up as he mentored the new lead, his obsession validated in this sudden clue that linked to a local man's petty crime record from the 80s. Investigative reporting detailed the process, samples retested with modern kits, revealing mitochondrial DNA traces overlooked in initial sweeps. The lab's beeps and whirs a symphony of progress. Family emotions peaked in tearful calls, Emily's mother clutching the phone, her voice trembling with fragile optimism after years of despair. Sensory details heightened the drama. The crisp snap of evidence bags opening, the metallic tang of lab equipment. As surveillance plans formed, detectives poring over maps in smoke-filled rooms. This pivot from stagnation to action built tension, rhetorical questions lingering. What if this thread unravels the entire web? The breakthrough propelled the case forward, clues cascading like dominoes, setting the stage for confrontation. Victor Klein, the unassuming local handyman whose weathered face hid a lifetime of shadows, emerged from the database shadows as the main suspect, his 1982 alibi crumbling under the weight of fresh DNA evidence that tied him irrevocably to Emily's scarf. Surveillance began discreetly, detectives tailing him through Milford's winding streets, watching as he tinkered in his cluttered garage, the scent of oil and sawdust masking deeper secrets buried in his basement. The investigation build-up intensified, interviews revealing inconsistencies in his story, a basement renovation suspiciously timed after the disappearance, concrete poured hastily over what forensics would later confirm as disturbed earth. Shock rippled through the team, short revelations like, the fibers match his work gloves, contrasting long stakeouts in rain-soaked cars, tension mounting with each passing hour. His calm facade hid a monster, but the evidence was closing in. Psychological profiles painted Klein as a man of quiet obsessions, community whispers now amplified, neighbors recalling his lingering stares at Emily during library visits, his isolation in a rundown house where the basement door always remained locked. Cinematic tension built through dramatic imagery, the dim bulbs swinging over excavation tools, shadows dancing on walls etched with years of neglect, as detectives connected dots to the abduction night, his truck matching the suspicious vehicle description. Emotional suspense heightened with family reactions, Emily's mother confronting the news in hushed tones, her grief sharpening into righteous anger. Forensic details grounded the narrative, soil samples from his basement floor revealing anomalous organic matter, alibis from old acquaintances faltering under renewed scrutiny. The net tightened, Klein's routine unraveling as hidden cameras captured his nervous tics, the air thick with impending revelation. This unmasking peeled back layers of deception, leading inexorably to the breaking point. Under the harsh fluorescent lights of the interrogation room, Victor Klein's composure finally cracked at 11:45 p.m. during a marathon session, his hands trembling as detectives laid out the DNA evidence like irrefutable cards on the table, forcing the confession that had festered for 20 years. The room, thick with the scent of sweat and stale air, echoed with his halting words, "I didn't mean for it to go that far," as he described the impulsive abduction in the alley, driven by a twisted obsession that escalated to murder in his basement lair. Relief washed over the investigators, mixed with raw shock, short admissions punctuating long silences where Klein's eyes darted, avoiding the photos of Emily's smiling face pinned to the wall. The resolution unfolded methodically, arrest warrants issued by dawn, handcuffs clicking into place as flashbulbs popped outside, the town's long nightmare culminating in this cathartic collapse. In that basement, the truth clawed its way out after 20 years. Psychological depth revealed Klein's breakdown, tears streaming as he detailed burying her under fresh concrete, his voice breaking on descriptions of the struggle, forensic recreations confirming ligature marks and blunt trauma from recovered remains. Emotional beats hit hard, the family's notification call, sobs of closure blending with lingering pain, Emily's mother whispering, "Finally, she can rest." Dramatic sentences captured the intensity. He confessed. The secret spilled. Relief, but at what cost? The arrest brought swift justice. Trial proceedings swift in the face of overwhelming evidence. Klein's life sentence a balm on open wounds. Yet, the revelation shocked the community, whispers turning to outrage as details emerged of his hidden life. This breaking point marked the end of evasion, bridging decades of torment with hard-won truth. In the aftermath of Victor Klein's conviction, Milford streets seemed to exhale a collective breath, the river flowing more freely as families gathered for a memorial that blended tears of healing with the haunting echoes of lost years, candles flickering against the twilight sky. Reflections settled over the town, injustice themes lingering like faint scars. How systemic oversights in the 80s allowed a monster to roam free, the emotional impact rippling through generations. Emily's brother finding solace in advocacy for cold case funding. Sadness persisted subtly, short moments of quiet grief contrasting long paths to reconciliation. The community's fabric mending through support groups where stories of resilience emerged. Broader themes surfaced: the fragility of small-town trust, the power of persistent hope, and the double-edged sword of technology that revives pain even as it delivers justice. In the end, does justice ever fully bury the pain? Family healing unfolded gradually. Emily's mother planting a garden in her memory, soil turned with hands that once clutched only sorrow. The scent of blooming flowers a sensory reminder of renewal. Lingering impacts echoed in policy changes. Reed retiring with a sense of closure, his obsession transformed into quiet pride. Novelistic closure wove through factual insights. Unsolved cases nationwide highlighted, a call to vigilance amid the haunting atmosphere of what-ifs. The town reconciled, vigils evolving from mourning to remembrance, but the basement's secret left an indelible mark, a reminder that some shadows never fully fade. Justice prevailed, yet the echoes resonated, a testament to endurance and the human cost of truth unearthed.